And then I sold one annuity along the way, almost accidentally. And then I got paid a commission check of roughly $7,500. I was like, wait a second. How many life insurance policies would I have to sell on average to get that? And at that time, it was about 4 life insurance policies. And when I sold that annuity, I didn't have to deal with medical underwriting, getting medical records, having the client postpone the exam, or any of that nonsense. I literally helped them reposition their funds into a better situation. I did not charge the client anything. And then I was compensated to do so. And the compensation, I was like, this is what I want to do. How do I just sell these annuities and then limit the amount of life insurance I sell? So that's what kind of sparked my journey getting into the asset protection, long-term care, annuity side of things. And we still do life insurance today.
What is up? Welcome back to the CA Power Player Podcast. I'm Cody Askins. Today we have back on the channel, man. He spoke at 8% and rocked it, actually 2 years in a row. Please welcome back my buddy from Austin, Texas, Roy Snarr.
What's going on, Cody?
Snarr.
Like a pirate name.
Yeah, it is, man. It is. Dude, here's one of the things I want to really bring a lot of value to. For agents today, those who are listening, man, if you're looking to elevate your practice, get into bigger and better conversations, like Roy Snarr and I did a workshop a while back where he was teaching agents how he averages like $10,000 per sell, right? Whatever it is, he uses long-term care and annuities and bigger life cases to help higher net worth individuals. And he's going to really teach today on like how he finds that money. And so, Roy, for those that are life insurance agents currently, and they're considering maybe at least adding the occasional annuity or finding the occasional annuity without even fully transitioning yet, like what advice would you give to those about that?
Yeah, so here's what I would say. I started off selling just life insurance and final expense products. That's how a lot of us start off. And the reason why is that I'm not going to say it's easier, but it is easier to get into the groove of things by selling final expense and life insurance because it's relatively straightforward.
Correct.
You pay a premium, you pass away, the insurance company writes a check. And there's a level of need there. There's a reason they have to protect the family, protect the bills from not being paid if something happens to them. There's a higher level of intent there. And so by selling life insurance and final expense, I actually built a decent career. I mean, again, as I talk about, I wasn't the instant success story by any stretch of the imagination. It took me 5 years to hit 6 figures. But then once I hit that number, I started averaging $250,000 to $300,000 a year just selling life insurance. But I would have to sell a boatload of it to get to those numbers. And then there's chargebacks that people cancel. There's health situations. It was a complete grind. And then I sold one annuity along the way, almost accidentally. And then I got paid a commission check of roughly $7,500. I was like, wait a second. How many life insurance policies would I have to sell on average to get that? And at that time, it was about 4 life insurance policies. And when I sold that annuity, I didn't have to deal with medical underwriting, getting medical records, having the client postpone the exam, or any of that nonsense. I literally helped them reposition their funds into a better situation. I did not charge the client anything. And then I was compensated to do so. And the compensation, I was like, this is what I want to do. How do I just sell these annuities and then limit the amount of life insurance I sell? So that's what kind of sparked my journey getting into the asset protection, long-term care, annuity side of things. And we still do life insurance today, but it's not a main focus of ours.
Yeah, it seems like it's also more of a, for those that are maybe new to the topic, it's more of like a future like planning conversation and less of a buy this now so that when you pass away, your families get a check.
Yeah, precisely. So when you're looking at the asset protection realm, like asset-based LTC, which is a huge door opener because nobody's selling it or helping people with it. It's your great way in to get into the annuity marketplace.
Asset-based long-term care.
Yeah. Asset-based long-term care, yes. Because rarely, I'll backtrack a little bit, and I talked about this multiple times on stage and with other groups of advisors. People are not going to come up to you and say, Cody, I want to buy an annuity. I heard about it on TV. I know they're the coolest thing since Coca-Cola. That doesn't happen. Now, rarely we will have clients actually reach out and say, hey, I have researched annuities. I'd like to purchase one. I'm like, really? Are you real? Is this an AI chatbot? Like, what's going on here, right?
Wow.
But that doesn't happen too often. So what you need to develop is a door opener. That's one of the things that we train on. So if you're already selling life insurance, you are the people that have bought the policy know, like, and trust you. Well, at least hopefully, right?
Yeah.
And so you can go back in there and say, oh, hey, by the way, the other assets that we talked about that can act as life insurance, let's help preserve those assets. Here are some additional strategies. And then you can start talking about the long-term care, start talking about retirement income planning, start talking about how to preserve their assets from high fees and market risk. That's your door opener. So life insurance is phenomenal just to get in front of someone and to open that door. Same thing with Medicare too. That's your door opener. You don't just go right into a conversation and say, hey, look, I'm an annuity salesperson. Here are your options.
Right. You also mentioned, did you say it took you 3 years or 5 years to make your first six figures?
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah. I wasn't like Cody Askins that hit it in the first 6 months. It took me 5 years.
Why do you think it took you 5 years?
Well, honestly, I wasn't focused. I was trying to figure things out. I was over analyzing things. I was just selling lower end products like just final expense and $80 premiums at a time. If you're selling that and you don't have an agency model around you, it takes a lot of numbers to get to six figures. And I was a slow learner. And this was back when, this was close to 15 years ago, right? I mean, YouTube was around, but not like it is today. We didn't have your channel. We didn't have other resources online to get education from. And a lot of the education that I did receive in the very beginning was from marketers just telling me, hey, push this product. That was it, right? So it took me a while to get into the groove of things and to really figure out how I'm actually going to scale this. And I was also intimidated too. I wasn't asking people the right questions. I didn't want to come off as a salesperson. I didn't want to try to cross-sell. And so a lot of these limiting beliefs of mine really slowed me down. That's why I try to tell agents today, there's really no excuse. Like, it's almost impossible for you not to be successful in this practice. You just have to give it a little bit of time, and two, you actually have to work and not just watch TikTok all day.
True. So true. Yeah. Okay. So then you made it to six figures.
Yes.
Which obviously I feel like the gap between, getting to six figures is entirely, for the most part, activity based. It's seeing enough people. Then you get to six figures and then you start scaling up. Like, how does someone go from, okay, I've made it to six now, right? I have the book 0 to 6 figures on Amazon, right? Like 6 figures. Okay, I got there. Now, like what we teach in Power Players, we're trying to scale from 6 to 7 figures. What advice would you give? We talk about scaling an agency and finally going from a 6-figure producer to a 7-figure agency owner.
So, I mean, there's only 2 ways to make money in this business. Well, 3 technically. Either more policies or bigger policies or more bigger policies, okay? And so you either have to increase your volume or you have to increase the case size. That's very simple, right? And then if you want to get that first 6 figures is always the hardest. I don't know what it is about it, but once you break through it, it's like, oh, cool. And then it sets a standard.
A big confidence boost. Yeah.
Oh, big time. Because I remember, like, I went from 100 to 250. So at the 250, that was like, all right, cool. I got $250,000. And then the next big hurdle was the $500,000. And then from the $500,000, I had to go up to 750, from the 750 to the million, to the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 10, all the way up, right? And so it was like these little steps that I would take. And once you get into the groove of it, it's actually a lot easier than what a lot of agents think. And a lot of other folks talk about this, is that, going from 500 to a million is a lot easier than it is going from 0 to 100. I don't know why, but that's what it seems like it is. Yeah. And so what we started doing is focusing on larger cases. Once we had the foundation, we knew about life insurance, we knew how it operated, we had a few sales under our belt. We said, okay, in order to maximize our time and to get the most revenue out of this insurance agency, let's focus on bigger cases. And that's what we started doing. So even today, as much as we write, we probably only issue 8 to 10 policies a month, if that. But they're all really big policies. And that's a lot better than issuing 40 policies and trying to stay on top of all that, right? And then the step above that is an agency. Now, no one's going to listen to you unless you have the success yourself, right? And like what we share, we tell people, we're on a lot of the same coaching and mentoring programs. You don't want to take advice from somebody that is making less money than you or hasn't done it before. It just doesn't make sense, right? You want to be able to get advice from people who have done it. And so then we started turning our platform into an agency. We said, you know what? We've hit this pinnacle of success, breaking over the 7-figure mark and then getting close to the 8-figure mark. Let's go ahead now and share with agents how we've done it. We've given it plenty of time. We've worked out a lot of the kinks, and now we can be able to share with them our process so that they can hopefully duplicate it and cut their time frame down. Instead of them, it took me over 10 years to get to $1 million. And so I want to be able to cut their time frame down to say maybe 5 years, right? But it still takes time.
It does, man. I mean, you jump into it and you think, okay, I'm going to make 6 figures really quick, and everybody's promoting it and talking about it. And it's like, okay. And then you make, there is something, I would agree with you too. You said like in most cases, it's easier to go from 6 to 7 than 0 to 6.
It is. Yeah.
Which is so wild for us to say it out loud. But yeah, it's like, for most large majority of the population, that's definitely true.
And it's funny. I don't know how I always heard that too. And then when you're making like 20 or 30 or 50 grand a year,
you're like, that's stupid. Yeah.
And then you think all your problems will go away and life will be like sailing on a private boat and airplane jets when you make $1 million. But it really isn't. Like the more that you make, the more that you have to reinvest and spend into your practice. And I think that's one of the biggest things in our industry that agents don't do. They don't spend money on themselves. They're too afraid to buy coaching packages. They're too selfish when it comes to sharing commissions when they're trying to learn. It's like you have to reinvest in yourself. Like a lot of our success contributed is not because we're the smartest people in the room by any means. It's because we're some of the most determined people and we keep reinvesting in ourselves. Even with those high numbers that we're producing, it's not like I'm driving around a Ferrari. Right? I could buy one, but why would I want to do that when I can reinvest that money back into my practice and into myself? Because we're still constantly learning as well. And I think that a lot of agents need to step back and think about where their time is going, like do a time audit, and also look at where their money is going. Okay. You don't need to buy the fancy watch, right? You need to put that money back into your practice. And then once your practice is paying you dividends, then yeah, sure, go ahead and buy that watch if you want to treat yourself to it. But you need to focus more money back into the business itself. Like I literally lived on top ramen and canned beans and the cheapest beer possible. Even though I was making 300 grand a year, I was basically qualifying for food stamps because I was putting every dollar back into the business to get me to that next level. And I think a lot of agents are just either scared to do that or they're not willing to.
Yeah. Why is that? Where does the fear come from? And why are we unwilling to invest in our business?
It's a lack of confidence is what it is. It's because, and I went through the same thing too. It's like, it's hard to trust yourself sometimes, especially if you didn't grow up in a very successful family and you grew up relatively poor or just middle class like I did. It's hard to take those chances because you're subconsciously ingrained, like just get steady, just make enough to survive. If you could put a little away, that's awesome. That's all you need, right? It's a scarcity mindset. And I think a lot of us are grown up and enculturated in that ideology. And to break free of that is amazing because if you can take the chance and just have confidence in yourself that you can make it, it's a whole level of freedom that is not experienced by any monetary value, but by the fact that you can actually break through and change your own life and then help other people change their lives through doing that and coaching them and mentoring them.
Yeah, I do see some people try to definitely skip some steps. I mean, a lot of people want to help other people, but it's very hard to help other people change if you haven't been able to help yourself change.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like you always hear the adage, like for everything to change, you got to change. And so, what are some of those things outside of just like a monetary investment that you believe are things that someone will have to go through and do or change to continue to level up, or some of the things that you had to change about you or the way you were raised or the thought patterns or the principles or the mindset pieces or the things you were told that you, as a kid, you thought they were true, or young adult, you thought they were true. And then later you're like, interesting.
Right. A lot of it is you have to audit your time because everybody complains that there's not enough time. Well, you know what? One thing we all have in common that's 100% equal is time. There's only 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of other agents that are hyper successful are like, wow, how did they do it? They have the same amount of time that you do. They're just spending it differently. So one of the biggest things that I have to always catch myself on today, going down a social media rabbit hole. It's so easy to scroll through Instagram or YouTube shorts and watch about aliens or whatever you want to watch. It's like, okay, if I spend an hour, like you can actually go into your phone, it'll tell you how much screen time and what platforms you're spending time on. Go take a look at that. Okay. See how much time you're spending there. If you were to take that same amount of time and read about a new product, okay, or to research, different types of annuities or how long-term care actually works, take that time that you're wasting and put it into something that's actually useful is huge. The other thing is having an actual schedule. So before, it was hard for me to like get up early, go do things, and then I would stay out too late. I changed all of that. And now if you think of it, if you just add an hour a day, if you get up an hour earlier, maybe you work out, maybe you just spend that time researching or working on your business, but 1 hour a day in 1 week, I mean, that's 7 hours right there. Okay. And then in a month, that's 30 hours. That's almost an entire week's worth of work that somebody else is doing. It's kind of like golf, right? If I hit that ball and I'm just a quarter inch off, by the time it lands, I'm like, 20 yards off. Okay. It's perpetual in that motion. So by doing these little things and time auditing and actually dedicating, like, even if it's 30 minutes a day, it makes a huge difference in the long run because I'm ahead of the game from most agents because I spend that time. I get an extra couple of years of experience by just doing an hour each day.
Yep. And what are some of the things you do day to day? Or things that you did previous to on a daily basis to get you where you're at? Like, what are some of those things along the way?
Well, there's a difference between being busy and being productive. It's really easy to be busy, but being productive is a whole other story. So what I started doing is I looked at how much time I was spending on lengthy emails. Right? I would literally spend an average of 15 hours a week on emails. Client would ask me a question. My goodness, I'd go through and I'd type it out. I'd make sure it's perfect. All this big detailed response. And then I get a okay back from them. I'm like, I spent an hour on that email. And if you think about it, I just spent a lot of time on emails. So I was like, how do I expedite this? Well, I use that Loom video program. There's BombBomb. There's other ways to do it. And I just record a quick video and I send it over. That takes me 3 to 5 minutes, if that, versus me trying to explain the universe to them on an email, or I'll schedule another quick time with them. So I started, one of the easiest ways that agents can free up more time is to get rid of all this busy work. And then you have to realize, okay, is somebody else better than me at this busy work? Then I'm better at doing it.
That's good.
Then you start delegating it. And even if you don't have the money to pay for somebody, maybe you get another agent, say, look, I need you to help me with some of this stuff on these cases I'm working on. And I'll give you 10, 20, 30% of the commission of each policy, but I'm not going to pay you a salary. Let's work together and grow this. So you can have, transfer your time that's not being very well spent to other people who may be better at it. It's going to cost you one way or the other. But if you don't have very much money to pay somebody like on a salary, help share some of your commissions. That way it's a win-win situation. So that's one of the big things that agents can start doing.
Yeah. What was the thing you mentioned right before that? That
I don't know, so many things.
No, I know. I had like a couple things come to my mind that I just went blank on. That I was literally going to just share. That I was like, I could relate to those so much. Gosh, I can't remember what it was. But
the time auditing aspect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what it was. Yes, 100%. So it had to do with the amount of time I still audit myself every single day, every week. Right. I'm look back. Okay, what did I accomplish? How much did I get done? How did I use my time? And I used to spend a lot of time on emails, scrolling social.
Yep.
And just like responding to people or getting back to people immediately through like phone calls and texts, which is still a problem for me. Like you can text me and I'll respond within minutes, like every time. And people are like, you're the busiest person I know. How the freak do you always respond within minutes? Obviously it's not always that way nowadays, but I have a VA that literally checks my email for me all day. And I have social media managers. I don't have to be on social nonstop. Those are some of the small things that you're talking about that have made a huge impact.
Yeah, time delegation. And that's one of the reasons why we looked at doing more of an agency model. Because there's only, I can create financial freedom through writing business. I've already done it, but I don't have the most important thing, which is time freedom. Okay. And so I wanted to be able to duplicate myself, just like, Getty always says, or Rockefeller, whoever it was, I'd rather have 1% of people's effort than 100% of my own. So we designed an agency model, and that's where my partnership with Annuity.com came into play. And then
Nice.
we have Annuity Producers, which is the event, where we actually designed an actual model to have an agency, because I've always wanted it. I've always wanted my own agency, because as an agency owner, I can translate my success to other agents and have them become successful as well. But then it gives me the opportunity not to have to sit down and write every single piece of business and be 100% responsible for my own revenue. But rather, I can train others so that they can become successful. And then along the way, I also become successful because there's a vested interest. So that's the next plateau, in my opinion, is once you become a successful producer and people will take counsel from you and you have a reason for them to listen to you, then you turn that into an agency. And then you start growing your own agency, because I could be on the beach with you, Cody, hanging out, chilling, having a margarita. Oh, I got to hop on a quick Zoom call. And then the beach is in the background. If it's a client, they're going to be like, what are you doing with my money? If it's an agent, they're going to be like, how do I get on the beach with you? Right.
Yeah.
So that's what we want. That's what we're doing now. We're growing at about 100 to 200 agents a month right now on average, just by translating that to them.
That's wacky. Phenomenal. Dude, that's insane. Phenomenal interview. Congrats on your recent successful event, by the way, which is awesome. If they want to reach out or look you up or learn more, what should they do, or where should they go?
So a couple things. We actually have a free school community. It's annuityproducers.com. Just go into the school platform. It's totally free. I have tons of videos in there. We have educational content, comments and then we post about case design. Totally free. Anybody can take advantage of it. We also have a free Thursday training call. It's every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central. If you want to be a part of that, just go to the website, Roy Snarr, go to the agent section and request to be thrown on the list. You'll get emailed a link, and we do live case design. We're here to give back to agents. You don't have to have your contracts with us or anything. That's totally fine. We're just here to give back to the agent community, because a lot of agents are lacking proper education, because most marketing groups, they've never sold a policy in their entire life, and they're telling agents how to do it, which doesn't make sense. So that's the best way to get a hold of me.
I love it, buddy. You're amazing. Thanks for being back on the podcast.
All right. Thank you, Cody. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, brother. Also, appreciate you guys listening to the Power Player podcast. Also, if you made it this far in the interview, we have a bunch of big time advisors that are working our annuity leads and our retirement appointments. You can go to CABOOMLeads.com, use coupon code YouTube to get 10% off your very first order at CABOOMLeads.com. Thanks for hanging out with us on the podcast, and we will see you on the next one. Adios. Hey, if you enjoyed this, I got another one you're going to love. It's right there. Click on it. See you in there. I'm so excited for today's CA Power Player podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. We got a special guest. He is back on the channel talking about how to sell life insurance from home. Here's what I love about this person. Okay, I'm telling you, this will be one of the best.